Bari Weiss is being scrutinized because she pulled a story last minute that would have greatly implicated the Trump administration. And many people are asking why she made this decision. I do have a leak here that has come through that shows why she may have made that decision. There was a story that CBS News did on the detention center in El Salvador. And apparently, like, it was pulled like last minute, just last minute. Boop. We decided not to air this story. Very, very late in the game. And a number of people, of course, especially on social media, said, what the hell is going on? Why would you pull this last minute? Again, Bari Weiss and her editorial decisions. Now, when I talked about the gangster's paradise and we're talking about the people who are wealthy and powerful, we got to remember who put Bari Weiss into that position. She is now editor-in-chief of CBS News, not because she's a hard worker, not because she had a fantastic, exploding, phenomenal outlet called the Free Press, because it wasn't hitting like that, but because she would do the bidding of the Zionist regime. The Ellison family captured CBS. They have gone on to, it looks like, capturing Paramount as well. So we all can see what's happening here. But why that story? Let's get into it. Here's the funny part. Brian Stelter, who used to be a host on CNN, he came on to spill the beans.
This is really a severe blow, it seems, to the network's credibility here. What are you hearing from journalists there, Brian?
I think that's accurate. This is a blow to credibility, whether or not the piece actually airs in the future. And Editor-in-Chief Bari Weiss is saying to the staff this morning, this segment will air when it's ready. But here's what's odd about the situation. We can walk through the timeline, and I think it'll show how this doesn't really add up, all right? Correspondent Sharon Alfonsi had been working on this segment for weeks. She interviewed some of these deportees who described torturous conditions at Sikot, that prison in El Salvador that the Trump administration has been sending migrants to. So these interviews were in the can, they were edited. This segment was ready to go, according to producers, editors, fact checkers, and even the lawyers who reviewed the segment. As of Friday, this was ready to go. And that's significant because on Thursday night, Editor-in-Chief Bari Weiss was able to screen it for the first time.
Pause here because we can't even show you their stuff. I'm going to tell you why we can't even show their stuff. So she saw it Thursday night. And all of a sudden, she decides last minute to let it go. So they went inside this detention center in El Salvador. I believe it's called Sikot. CSOT, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. They went inside there to investigate, to do an investigative series. Now, we all know that Donald Trump has been pretty critical of 60 Minutes, and this special was going to air on 60 Minutes. So hold on to that because that's really important when I get into what has now been revealed about why she decided to let this go. Let's go ahead and bring him back in.
And I'm told, according to sources, she was especially concerned about the lack of a Trump administration response to the reporting. Now, Alfonsi says in an internal memo that waiting for a response is unrealistic because it's clear the Trump administration did not want to respond to these allegations. She said, I want to pull up the quote here, their refusal to be interviewed was a tactical maneuver designed to kill the story. If the administration's refusal to participate becomes a valid reason to spike a story, we have effectively handed them a kill switch for any reporting they find inconvenient. So that's the view from the 60 Minutes reporting team. The piece was ready to go. It was in the can. It was going to be broadcast on Sunday. But all of a sudden, over the weekend, Weiss decided to shelve it. And that has created a real uproar inside CBS News, with widespread concerns about political meddling and about corporate interference. All of this.
Pausing here so you can see it. This was the note that many of us saw on X. Editor's note, the broadcast lineup for tonight's edition of 60 Minutes has been updated. Our report inside CSOT will air in a future broadcast. That it was really like last minute, guys. And people are like, what the hell is going on here? Let's continue.
Coming as CBS's parent company, Paramount, both tries to ingratiate itself with the Trump administration and tries a hostile takeover bid for this network's parent company, Warner Bros. Discovery.
I mean, and it comes as President Trump has really been ratcheting up his criticism of 60 Minutes. Tell us more about that and the timing of this.
Yes, that's right. And that is the essential context here. You know, when Paramount changed hands earlier this year, Trump praised the new owners, David Ellison and his father, Larry. He described them as friends and supporters. Trump was very excited to have CBS moving into new hands. But 2 weeks ago, Trump changed his tunes. He started to criticize the Ellisons and 60 Minutes specifically. Trump at first was mad about an interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene that aired on the broadcast. We know Trump cares a lot about 60 Minutes, and we know he's been railing against both the broadcast and the new owners of Paramount. At the same time, these owners need regulatory approval for their future aspirations to grow the company. So that is the political context for the story. Now, I'm told by sources at CBS that Bari Weiss became more personally involved at 60 Minutes in the past couple of weeks. But she said to staffers this morning, the story simply was not ready for air yet. It was not ready to go. More reporting must be done. And frankly, I'm not hearing many supporters of hers internally at CBS. I'm hearing a lot of criticism about this decision. But you know what's happened, Pam? A lot more people are suddenly interested in the story, right? A lot more people suddenly want to know more about what these detainees have said they've gone through.
That's right. It actually made it more popular. People are more interested in knowing what happened. And what I want to say here is this. That's why it's important to know who owns the networks. Ultimately, they're the ones that are making the decision. The Ellisons, they came in, they bought CBS. They're buying Paramount too. It's just insane. They're making these editorial decisions, and they have Bari Weiss in that chief editor role as a puppet. And what they tell her to do is what she's going to do. Bari Weiss is walking around here, totting around, acting like she ain't making no damn decisions. She doing what they telling her to do. Now, here's something else I want to bring up. The Marjorie Taylor Greene thing. 60 Minutes had that interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I thought that was a really good interview. But Donald Trump, of course, had a problem with it because she was talking about him. Now we have the president of the United States telling these media companies what they can and cannot do. So he does it through other people. By having the Ellisons buy CBS, he can just tap them on the shoulder and say, I really didn't like that segment. I didn't like that segment. It was really nasty. Is that how you would say it? How Trump would say it? It's a nasty section. I didn't like it. It was nasty. Whatever. And then tell them, I don't want to see that type of content anymore. And matter of fact, I don't want to see anything on 60 Minutes that is going to be critical of me or my administration. This is the danger about all of this. And there's no telling if the Ellisons aren't going to go on and buy other networks. They could buy Fox News, which Fox News, most 99% of the time supports Trump anyway. But they could go on to buy CNN. Then what? Then what? And that's why you have independent media. This is the good thing about us in independent media, because we don't, ain't nobody own me, son. That's the difference. It has been reported that because of the decision that Bari Weiss made, that some of the staffers at CBS are talking about quitting because they don't like the decisions that are being made. And I would say, like, Gail, if I was you, I'd get the hell up out of there, because that's another sinking ship that's coming. I'm going to tell you about their ratings in just a second. Let's go on a little bit more here.
So this is one of those situations where the controversy, the scandal is actually going to draw more attention onto the Trump administration's effort to deport these migrants to this very hostile prison where some men say they've been tortured.
Yeah. All right. So tell us more about what Weiss said in her statement. And also, just to be clear, Sharon Alfonsi and the 60 Minutes team had reached out multiple times to the administration for statement and interview, right? And the administration declined. I just want to be clear on that.
That's right.
Because
that
you can
important.
understand,
Yes,
if we're not
These
representing one
comments.
Yeah, go ahead.
These requests for comment went unanswered, according to Alfonsi.
But was it also for an interview or just a comment?
They can't wait around forever and only broadcast the segment if they agree to be interviewed. She says that would amount to a kill switch. However, Weiss said this morning on the network's early morning editorial call, quote, we need to be able to get the principals on the record and on camera. She means someone like Stephen Miller, the deputy chief of staff at the White House. She's insisting on having those interviews. And again, that is her prerogative as editor-in-chief of the organization. But if she felt so strongly, why did she only make this decision over the weekend after the segment was announced, after it was ready to go, according to staffers, after it was already publicized? There's something strange about the process here. And then there's the political overtones that are inescapable. And that is why so many CBS staffers are now alarmed in this moment.
There's nothing strange about the process here. This has been going on for years. It's just more overt at this moment. Look, a lot of these networks, they go by the rule that the State Department has. We saw that a lot right after the genocide started in Gaza. We saw that where they had those press conferences and people like Max Blumenthal and other journalists would approach them and say, but this is happening in Gaza and you guys are saying that you don't know or it's not happening, right? So the media, they go to these press conferences and they take the information that's given to them by the State Department and they go and they spew that information to their audience, to their viewers. This particular situation here, I believe that Bari got the tap on the shoulder. Don't you run that damn segment. Don't you run that segment, Bari. And I want to show you this part here as well, because the internal memo was leaked. Internal memo reveals Bari Weiss personally intervened to stall the 60 Minutes Seacoast investigation, not for accuracy, but to reframe it around Trump's talking points. Let's go straight to the screenshots here, ladies and gents. Hi, all. I'm writing with specific guidance on what I'd like for us to do to advance the Seacoast story. I know you'd all like to see this run as soon as possible. I feel the same way. But if we run this piece as is, we'd be doing our viewers a disservice. Let's jump down to this part here. At present, we do not present the administration's argument for why it sent 252 Venezuelans to CSOT. What we, hold on. Oh, yeah, to CSOT. What we have is Caroline Leavitt's soundbite claiming they are evildoers in America. But isn't there much more to ask in light of the torture that we are revealing? Tom Hammond and Stephen Miller don't tend to be shy. I realize we've emailed the DHS box, but we need to push much harder to get these principles on the record. So let me tell you what happened here, folks. She basically wanted to make sure that this didn't come across making the Trump administration look too bad. Don't forget, Bari Weiss is the one who held this town hall with Erica Kirk. You know, and she made it seem like Erica Kirk's the only woman in this country who lost their husband, right? You know what I mean? Like, this is the only person that's been a widow. That, in my opinion, I said it back then, that was operating in favor of the Trump administration. What we are seeing is that Bari Weiss, yes, is compromised, but I've said she's been compromised. Bari Weiss is compromised, not just for Israel, but also compromised for the Trump administration. So if you reached out to them, and any journalist knows this, if you reached out to them and they have no comment, what does a journalist usually do? They will put in their segment, we reached out to so-and-so, they had no comment, but they still report the story. This is why Glenn Greenwald called her out as well on X and said, Bari Weiss is an opinion journalist, not an investigative journalist. And there's different types of journalism, right? So this is bullshit. They could have still ran that segment and they could have said at the very end, like I've seen with so many other articles and news segments during my lifetime, we reached out to the Trump administration for comment, no comment. Next segment. That's simple. But Bari Weiss pulled this to protect the Trump administration because that's what the Ellison bros wanted her to do, because that's what Trump wanted them to do. We are living in a dangerous time. And I just hope people see this for what this really is. And that's why people are calling her out, especially people that are journalists. So we have a gangster's paradise with the media, because the reporters and the commentators don't really control the content like you think they do. The people who own the network control the content. And Bari Weiss is just one of their puppets. Let's go on to this part here. Max Blumenthal brought up something as well. I told you everybody's calling her out. Did Bari Weiss try to bury the 60 Minutes report to protect Marco Rubio? While Stephen Miller has been the public face of the Trump deportation policy, it was Rubio who arranged to send 250 Venezuelan migrants to his friend Nayib Bukele in El Salvador, where they were publicly humiliated and tortured for months. 60 Minutes not only documented hideous abuses of migrants in Salvadorian custody, but explained how the Trump administration falsified their relationship with Tren de Aragua by classifying anyone with any kind of tattoo as a bona fide TDA gangster, despite the fact that TDA members do not identify by tattoos as MS-13 members have. Only 3.2% of the Venezuelan migrants detained in CSOT had ever been convicted of violent crimes. Bari Weiss justified her delay of the 60 Minutes report on the absurd grounds that we need to do more. Yet her comments contained a certain truth, as Rubio's central role in the scandal had been omitted. In personally arranging the transfer of the Venezuelan migrants to CSOT, Rubio undercut Trump's special envoy to Venezuela, Rick Grenell, who was working on a deal with the Caracas that would have seen the migrants sent directly to their home country in exchange for 11 American prisoners, but on the condition that Chevron have its operating license extended into Venezuela. By transferring the migrants to CSOT instead, Rubio was able to deny oil revenue to Venezuela while escalating tensions with Maduro. Rubio also kneecapped Trump's Department of Justice through his Salvadorian scheme. In exchange for Bukele opening his dungeon to the Venezuelans, Rubio promised him that several valuable MS-13 informants would be removed from U.S. custody and returned to El Salvador, where they could be silenced. The Salvador president and self-described coolest dictator feared that these MS-13 informants would expose the secret negotiations with the gang, busting his mythical image as uncompromising crime fighter who reduced street violence with an iron fist. And so the DOJ was forced to relinquish valuable assets they'd spent years recruiting and cultivating. Thanks to Rubio's regime change mania, U.S. taxpayers were billed millions of dollars to detain an overwhelmingly nonviolent lot of Venezuelan migrants in an Salvadorian torture prison, while diplomacy to free Americans was needlessly delayed. So this is an interesting point here from Max Blumenthal. You know, Bari Weiss has been known to be shady as hell. Now, peep this, fam. Somehow that 60-minute segment was leaked. I'm telling you, the nerds are on it. Kudos to the nerds. Breaking. Here's the 60-minute segment Trump and CBS News executives don't want you to see. Can we give it up for the nerds? Let's give it up for the nerds. We got to drop the beat for the damn nerds. Drop the beat. Dance with me. Dance with me. Drop the beat. In the street. Woo! We are giving it up for the nerds tonight because they found it. They found it. They found it. Yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. So they found it. And then check this out. Months before Bari Weiss pulled the 60-minute segment, her outlet, The Free Press, was joking about the mega prison Trump has lawlessly deported people to. The hottest campaign spot, the new Jeffrey Epstein jet, the place to see and be seen. You see that? She was joking about it. This is a ruthless woman. She really is. And then you will also see, watch this. I said CBS really doesn't want you to see this story. Check this out, guys. CBS is filing copyright takedowns against copies of the banned CSOT 60-minute segment. This video contains content from Paramount Global, CBS, who has blocked it on copyright grounds. That's how you know they fucked up. So Bari Weiss and her little minions, as soon as that segment was leaked and people could see it, people started sharing it on YouTube, Bari Weiss and her CBS cronies, they decided to implement copyright strikes against people or use copyright claim to get it taken down. That's censorship for your ass. And they didn't just do it on YouTube. This is how you know they're hiding stuff. They didn't just do it on YouTube. They also did this on TikTok. TikTok is removing clips of the leaked 60-minute segment. The Ellison family, which acquired Paramount, CBS parent company, and the Free Press, making Bari Weiss editor-in-chief, is set to co-own TikTok through a Trump-backed deal. So here you go. So this is what they were doing. People were removing it from TikTok. And again, same reason, copyright violation. It's another little censorship trick that some people will do sometimes. They're like, oh, I don't want them to talk about that. Let's hit them with a copyright, like that type of thing. And like I said, it's obvious she's trying to protect someone, right? Here's the problem for Bari, though. CBS is in trouble. The ratings aren't doing too well. You know, even after this grand town hall that she had with Erica Kirk, ratings declined 27% in total viewership compared to the network's standard programming in that time slot year to date. That is from Nielsen reporting. From that town hall with Erica Kirk. And Bari Weiss thought that this was really going to be a home run. Everybody's going to watch this interview that I do with Erica Kirk, not realizing a lot of people, especially younger people, don't really, aren't watching CBS News like that. And knew that it would be a bunch of propaganda. A number of us debunked it. So the ratings are down. And she thought that this interview was really going to bring it home. But no. So we are living in a gangster paradise of the wealthy and the powerful, especially when it comes to the media. How they can make these decisions to pull stories and then to censor those who choose to find the story and talk about it. That's the gangster paradise that we're dealing with today. She's getting clowned all over social media. It's hilarious, guys. Hey, guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.